I'm Robert, a real estate agent. This is how an HOA president's pettiness burned her criminal empire to the ground. If you love it, comment Spotify for the full audiobook. The smell of smoke was a ghost in my clothes, a bitter reminder clinging to every thread. When she walked into my courtroom like she owned the very air. I sat behind the bench. Judge Lena Suarez, the weight of my robes familiar, the cool wood of the gavel solid in my grip, staring at the woman who had lit the match. The sheer, breathtaking gall of it tightened my throat. But Vanessa Thorne had no idea. When you burn down a judge's home, you pray to every god you know that she doesn't get to balance the scales. And let me tell you, I was about to weigh her future in years, measured out in the stark concrete of a federal penitentiary. This suburban queenpin thought reducing my house to ash would be the final word. Instead, it was a spark that would ignite the blaze that consumed her entire crooked world. Every fraudulent fine, every manufacturer violation, every whispered threat. I had it all, documented and waiting. What do you do when the person who tried to erase you delivers themselves to your doorstep, wrapped in their own arrogance? Get comfortable. This reckoning doesn't pull its punches. 7 months before the firefighters hosed down the ruins of my life, I was just Judge Lena Suarez. Respected on the bench, a name that made certain kind of people nervous, and completely hollowed out inside. I just buried Leo. I'd sat there, holding his hand, as the sickness ate him from within. 27 years together, gone. Our little Spanish-style house in Cypress Hills felt like a museum dedicated to a joy that was over. Cypress Hills was once a place of quiet streets and well-kept gardens, where nurses and mechanics lived next door to each other and shared tools over chain-link fences. Then the money rolled in. Suddenly, the modest homes with their rose bushes were being scraped away to make room for stucco fortresses with imported olive trees and backyard pizza ovens. The folks who'd been here forever, people like Gus Petrakis, who moved in during the Nixon administration, watched their tax bills double while the newcomers complained about the character of the neighborhood. Then came the architect of this new order, Vanessa Thorne. Imagine every condescending, entitled smile you've ever gotten at a grocery store. Now put that smile on a woman in $200 yoga pants, driving a matte black Mercedes SUV, sipping something liquefied and green that costs more than your lunch, while she explained zoning laws to you. She arrived 2 years ago with her real estate developer husband and immediately began her campaign to curate Cypress Hills. Her definition of curating meant removing anything or anyone she found inconvenient. Our first meeting happened over Leo's memorial fountain. We designed it together in his final weeks, a small, tiered stone piece of the backyard where the sound of water will be a peaceful thing. The morning air was sweet with the scent of the jasmine he'd planted years ago, still climbing the fence despite his absence. The sharp click of heels on my flagstone path announced her. You must be the one who lost her husband. No, I'm sorry for your loss. Just a statement of fact. Judge Suarez, I said, rising slowly, dirt from the jasmine's roots on my hands. Of course, the judge, she replied, making the title sound like a minor social disease. I'm Vanessa, HOA board chair. We have a situation. Out came a digital level, her tool of choice. Its electronic beep was absurdly loud in the quiet garden. She held it against the fountain's central pillar, her expression one of profound, performed disappointment. 39 inches. Our covenant is very clear. 36 inches maximum for water features. That's a $750 compliance fee, plus the cost of removal. I straightened up, every vertebra protesting from months of grief and poor sleep. Show me that covenant. Her perfectly manicured fingers, a French tip, of course, flipped through a leather-bound binder. The search took several minutes because the rule, as I knew it would be, was fictional. My fountain was exactly 36 inches. I'd had a landscape architect confirm it. Well, she exhaled, a flush rising on her cheeks beneath the perfect makeup. We'll be reviewing this, Judge. The ice in her voice told me everything. This wasn't about a fountain. That night, with a glass of Leo's favorite rye whiskey for company, I looked up old cases. There it was, 3.5 years ago. Thorne Development Group had stood before me, trying to pressure an 82-year-old Korean War veteran into a predatory loan for unnecessary solar panel installation. The man's roof couldn't support the weight. I'd thrown the case out and sanctioned them for deceptive practices. This fountain was a message. Vanessa Thorne, however, had made a critical strategic error. She had chosen to antagonize a woman who had spent 19 years looking murderers, traffickers, and embezzlers in the eye before passing sentence. A woman who had learned to function with a heart shattered into dust. A woman with zero left to lose and an encyclopedic knowledge of where the cracks were in the legal foundation. The smooth, cool stone of the fountain under my palm was why I'd built it, not as a barrier, but as a sanctuary, a place for memory and peace. Vanessa Thorne had just declared war on that peace. In legal terms, we call that giving your opponent all the ammunition they need. The campaign began in earnest 2 weeks later. Vanessa had clearly graduated from the school of bureaucratic torment. The official letters started coming, heavy linen paper in crisp envelopes that made my postal carrier, Ray, grimace apologetically. 8 pieces of certified mail in 12 days. Violation 1. Unapproved yard art. The offending item, Leo's memorial stone, a smooth river rock with the words "Be still" and "Remember" etched into it. Apparently, personal grief disrupted the visual flow. Violation 2. Non-standard exterior paint color. My house had been desert sunrise since the first Bush was president. Suddenly, it was non-conforming and visually abrasive. Violation 3. The one that made my vision tunnel, creating a wildlife attraction nuisance. I had one simple bird feeder. It drew finches, Leo's favorite. Watching their quick, bright movements with my morning coffee was the only ritual keeping me anchored. Each letter threatened fines from $100 to $1,000, promising liens and legal action. The paper they were printed on probably cost more than the violations themselves. This is where nearly 2 decades of listening to lies in a courtroom became an asset. Back in law school, after a slumlord tried to bully me, I'd made a study of Florida's HOA statutes. These letters were legally flimsier than a house of cards in a hurricane. Legitimate fines require a real rule, a proper process, and a reasonable connection to an actual problem. Vanessa's citations reference amendments that didn't exist and ignored every procedural safeguard. Time for a judicial response. I spent evenings in Leo's old study, surrounded by a smell and books, building my defense. I filed a formal grievance with the Florida Real Estate Commission outlining Vanessa's procedural violations. I took hundreds of photos, created timelines, cross-referenced her violations with the actual recorded bylaws. My training in preserving a chain of evidence was about to be turned outward, but Vanessa wasn't done with her amateur theatrics. On a Tuesday, while I was downtown overseeing a complex fraud trial, my new security system captured a stunning act of stupidity. Vanessa arrived with a duo, her personal stylist, a woman dressed head to toe in beige, and her yoga instructor, who seemed to be doubling as a property compliance consultant. For an hour, they staged a performance. The stylist pointed with horror at Leo's jasmine vine, as if its very existence was a personal insult. The yoga instructor took notes on a tablet, looking profoundly out of his depth. Watching the footage that night, a cold anger settled in my bones. They were fabricating evidence to support fraudulent claims. In my world, we call that conspiracy. Then Gus Petrakis came over, the smell of his clove cigarettes on the evening breeze. "Judge," he said, his voice low, "this Thorne woman, she's got a pattern. Remember the Gwynn family? She made them take down a little ancestor shrine in their front yard. Called it unsanctioned religious display. Fined them every month until they sold and left." My mind, trained to see connections, latched on. Who else? Single father on Cypress Lane. Fined for his kid's tire swing. Said it was an unapproved structural modification to the tree. A tire swing, for God's sake. The picture came into terrible focus. This wasn't about me. This was a systemic operation targeting anyone who didn't match Vanessa's glossy magazine version of suburbia. Immigrant families, single parents, retirees on pensions, and now a widow judge who'd once blocked her husband's shady deal. This was discrimination, meticulously wrapped in the bland language of bylaws and backed by fake paperwork. I hadn't stumbled into a neighborhood spat. I'd walked into the middle of a criminal enterprise. The sound of my pen scratching notes in Leo's quiet study was the only sound. He'd always said the law was a blueprint. You had to build your case carefully. I was about to construct something that would collapse Vanessa Thorne's little empire. Vanessa's next move crossed a line from nuisance to crime. If fake violations weren't breaking me, perhaps a real invasion would. She struck when I was downtown, sentencing a man for armed robbery. My cameras saw it all. There she was, in expensive leggings and a pristine tank top, marching through my private space as if she'd purchased it at auction, digital level in hand. She photographed everything, angling shots to create false impressions. The peak of her audacity came when she cupped her hands around her eyes and peered through my living room window, looking directly at Leo's reading chair, the one I still couldn't bring myself to sit in. But her true crime was deliberate. She didn't just trespass. She weaponized the space. The footage showed her unlatching my side gate, jamming the mechanism so it wouldn't catch, and walking away with a small, satisfied smile. I came home that night, so weary from the violence I'd spent the day immersed in, to find my sanctuary violated and a cold dread in my stomach. Bingo was gone. He was a 13-year-old beagle mix, not just a pet, but Leo's final, joyful gift to me, found shivering under a bench in the courthouse square 5 years ago. The dog was slept on Leo's feet during every chemo session, a warm, steady presence. My last tangible connection to our life together. The panic was a physical thing, a fist around my lungs. I searched for 2 days, my voice raw. Gus organized neighbors. The Nguyen family, who'd moved to Orlando, drove back to help look. Then the call. Judge Suarez, this is Dr. Alvarez at Bayfront Animal Clinic. We have a dog here that matches your flyer. It's not good. I found Bingo in an oxygen crate, ribs wrapped, one leg splinted, trembling violently. $1,000 in emergency care later, the vet was blunt. These injuries are consistent with a high-speed chase. Maybe a vehicle or industrial equipment. The shock alone was severe. The security footage delivered the truth. An hour after Vanessa's illegal entry, her landscaping team arrived with a fleet of riding mowers and industrial weed whackers. They had chased my terrified dog to the open gate she provided, running him down 3 streets until he collapsed, broken and hiding under a porch. This was no longer harassment. This was an attack on my family. But here is where Vanessa sealed her fate. She committed multiple felonies against a federal judge who knew precisely how to make the system bite back. I changed locks, posted signs, filed criminal complaints for trespassing and animal cruelty. Then I reached out to Diana Ruiz at News 9, an investigative reporter with a reputation for tearing the lid off suburban corruption. Her piece, Bench versus Bylaws, aired 48 hours later. Diana laid it out. Vanessa's targeted campaigns against minority and elderly homeowners, the security footage of her trespass, the vicious attack on Bingo. The neighborhood erupted. Donations flooded in for vet bills, for a legal fund. Hashtag Justice for Bingo was everywhere. 2 major firms offered pro bono representation. The Florida Attorney General's office opened an inquiry. Most importantly, 6 more families came forward with similar stories. My research into Florida law yielded a beautiful piece of legal machinery. Aggravated trespass with intent to harass carried penalties similar to burglary. The animal cruelty charges could be layered with conspiracy if multiple actors were involved. Vanessa's landscaping crew hadn't just scared a dog. They helped establish a pattern of organized criminal activity, a potential RICO predicate. That night, as Bingo finally rested his head on my lap and sighed, the sound mixed with the whir of my new hard drives and the steady click of my keyboard, drafting complaints that would end this. Vanessa, cornered, went for the career kill. A complaint arrived from Florida Judicial Qualifications Commission, alleging I'd abused my office to persecute a law-abiding community leader. The evidence was a masterpiece of falsification. Photoshopped images of my garden looking like a junkyard, affidavits from her stylist and yoga instructor claiming I'd threatened them. Then she leaked it all to partisan legal blogs that hated my rulings on environmental regulations. Overnight, I was a trending topic. Activist judge wages war on suburbia. My 19 years of service were dissected by anonymous commoners who'd never set foot in a courtroom. My salvation came wearing a tweed jacket and carrying a basket of peaches. Art Bellamy looked like a kindly, retired history professor. He was, in fact, a retired IRS forensic accountant with 25 years of tracing hidden money. "Judge," he said, settling into Leo's chair with an air of calm finality, "I believe you want to see these." He spread photographs across my kitchen table. Meet Victoria Thorne of Nashville. 2 home insurance claims in 16 months. A freak plumbing rupture and an electrical fire that started in an empty room. $300,000 in payouts, right before the state investigator could finish his report. My mind, trained on patterns, saw it instantly. She's a grifter. A very specific kind. Art confirmed. She targets established, transitioning neighborhoods. Uses HOA control to create chaos and provide cover, then stages property damage for insurance payouts before moving on. He handed me another document, but her mistake was getting greedy. Her current homeowner's insurance application, she used a variation of her maiden name and forgot to mention the Nashville claims. That's mail fraud. And she's insured her $900,000 house for $3.5 million. The puzzle pieces slammed together with almost audible force. The harassment is not the point. It's the smoke screen. "Exactly," Art said. "You're the shiny object, the loud conflict. While everyone is watching the judge fight the HOA queen, she's quietly draining the HOA's reserve funds and preparing the stage for her next accident." He slid a final folder to me. Thorne Development was dissolving in a cloud of debt and lawsuits. The HOA presidency was a vault, not a title. My suffering was strategic distraction, keeping a federal judge occupied with petty fines while she looted the community. But his last sentence turned my blood to ice. She's already filed preliminary insurance notices citing deteriorating neighborhood conditions and increasing risk of property damage from adjacent neglected homes. "Judge, your house isn't just a target. It's a planned set piece in her next fraud. It's meant to burn, and she's meant to collect." That night, surrounded by the evidence Art provided, my personal tragedy transformed into a federal case. Spreadsheets showing $375,000 missing from Cypress Hill's HOA accounts. Insurance forms woven with lies. A documented history of targeting Vietnamese, Haitian, and elderly residents that painted a clear picture of civil rights violations. Vanessa hadn't chosen me over an old court case. She'd chosen me because making a federal judge a victim was the perfect camouflage for grand theft. In her arrogance, she'd picked the wrong victim. She'd tried to run a con on someone who knew how to build a federal prosecution from the ground up. The soft light from my monitor filled Leo's study as I began writing emails to contacts at the FBI and the Department of Justice. Leo always said the most powerful tool in any fight was the opponent's own momentum turned against them. Vanessa Thorne was about to be crushed by the very system she thought she was gaming. Art placed a final, heavy envelope in front of me. "This changes the entire board," he said, his voice grave. "Vanessa Thorne is a phantom." The first photo was a Georgia driver's license, Valerie Thomas, with Vanessa's unmistakable eyes. The second, Veronica Shaw from Charlotte. The third was a booking photo from a county jail in Tennessee, 10 years old. Shanna McCullough. She's a specialist, Art explained. 5 identities that we know of. She glides into nice neighborhoods, gets on the HOA board, bleeds it dry, arranges a catastrophic loss, and vanishes with the insurance money. Over $4 million in the last 8 years. How many people? I asked, my voice tight. At least 18 families that we can directly link. Always the same targets. The elderly, immigrants, anyone less likely to fight back or be fully believed. He showed me architectural schematics of my own house, pulled from Thorne Development servers. Annotated. Notes on the older wire in the west wall. The mature oak tree whose branches touch the roof. The best places for rapid, undetectable flame propagation. "She's been planning to burn your home since before she ever measured your fountain," Art said quietly. "The harassment was just noise. Your property is worth maybe $210. But with Leo's life insurance policy and the upgrade you did, the rebuild value is close to $400,000. She was going to let the accidental fire jump the property line to her place and collect on both. I traced the lines on the blueprint, seeing Leo's handwriting the margins from when we'd planned a new patio. She had turned our love into a line item in a fraudulent claim. Then Art delivered the final, staggering blow. She's also a federal fugitive. Shannon McCullough testified in a mortgage fraud case in Memphis, got a reduced sentence, entered witness protection, and then walked away from it in 2017. She's been using stolen identities from the program to commit the very crime she once helped prosecute. The scale of the betrayal was immense. This wasn't a suburban bully. This was a professional predator operating with a stolen shield. My kitchen became command central. By the weekend, Art, Gus, and a razor-sharp former federal prosecutor named Elena Mendez sat at my table, maps and documents spread everywhere. Elena had eyes that missed nothing. "We're not filing a nuisance suit," she stated. "We're building a multi-jurisdictional RICO case that spans 5 states. Mail fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, witness protection violation, conspiracy, and now, given the blueprint, attempted arson and premeditated theft." She's looking at a stack of sentences that will outlive her. Art coordinated with his old networks. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit, the U.S. Marshals. Gus activated the neighborhood. Every person Vanessa had ever targeted was ready to talk, with documents. We upgraded my security system into a forensic evidence-gathering suite. "The beautiful part," Art noted, adjusting a microphone sensitive enough to hear a conversation across the street, "is that she's still committing crimes. Every fake fine she issues, every transfer from the HOA account, is another real-time count on the indictment." Elena filed a blizzard of motions. Emergency injunctions freezing the HOA's accounts, preservation orders for all Thorne development records, notices to the state attorney general for civil rights violations. We knew a cornered animal is dangerous, so she arranged for discreet patrols past the homes of the most vulnerable residents. We had built a machine of justice, calibrated for one purpose: the utter dismantling of Vanessa Thorne's world. Her response was to escalate to terrorism. If legal pressure was closing in, perhaps physical destruction would erase the problem. She timed it for a day I was in court, sentencing a man for domestic violence. My cameras saw it all. At 1:18 p.m., a van without markings dropped off 3 men in work uniforms. They moved with a cold, efficient purpose. They weren't gardeners. They placed canisters near my foundation, ran thin, almost invisible lines from my external gas outlet, piled dry brush and pine needles in strategic arcs pointing toward Vanessa's property. The planning was meticulous, the intent murderous. But Vanessa's arrogance reached its zenith when she arrived, trailing a news crew from Channel 12. "We received an anonymous concern about fire hazards," she told a reporter, standing literally on top of the Planet Accelerant Trail. When those in positions of authority ignore basic safety, the whole community is at risk. The performance was chilling. My phone lit up. Gus had been watching from his sunroom with binoculars. Mrs. Nguyen had taken video from her car. Even Ray the mail carrier had noted the strange van. Then, the fire inspector arrived at Vanessa's urgent request. Inspector Roy Dalton was a 30-year veteran. He took one look at the violations, knelt and sniffed the soil. "Judge," he said quietly, his voice hard, "this isn't a code issue. This is a trap. Someone is prepping your house to burn down and make it look like your fault." The subsequent forensics would find chemical accelerants and tampered gas valves. When Inspector Dalton refused to issue a condemnation order based on the staged evidence, Vanessa made her last stupid play. Her body camera caught all. Her offering him a thick envelope. Her words about efficient solutions. Bribing a fire official is a federal felony. He placed her under arrest on the spot. The dam broke. Federal agents descended on Cypress Hills. Warrants were executed on Vanessa's home, her office, her bank accounts. Elena Mendez moved with terrifying speed. The evidence Vanessa had planted became the proof of her conspiracy. Her bribe attempt added a federal corruption charge. That night, the smell of gasoline and betrayal still hung in my yard, but it smelled different now. It smelled like inevitability. The fire itself happened at 2:47 a.m. I was staying at Gus's house, my own home now a known target. The explosion wasn't loud. It was a deep, percussive whump that shook the windows. From Gus's guest room, I saw the orange glow. I saw 27 years of my life with Leo become light and heat and smoke. Our kitchen, his study, the garden where we buried his ashes near the jasmine, all of it gone. The fire department needed 4 blocks of clearance. It was a professional job, designed to look like an electrical fault, but ensure total loss. Vanessa Thorne's overconfidence was now her prosecutor's best friend. My security system, housed in a fireproof safe, had recorded everything. Thorne Development employees on the property at 2:30 a.m., Vanessa's husband, carrying a specialized torch device at 2:45. But the definitive proof came from the insurance side. Vanessa had filed a preliminary loss notice for fire damage spreading from a neighboring property at 2:15 p.m. the previous afternoon, over 12 hours before the fire was set. She had documented her intent before striking the match. The neighborhood, once divided by fear, united in fury. They brought food, blankets, support, and then, in a moment of breathtaking hubris, Vanessa showed up at the smoldering ruin at 5 a.m., perfectly coiffed, expressing profound sadness to the news cameras. "This is a wake-up call for all of us about safety and compliance," she said, her voice thick with fake grief. She didn't see the FBI agents filming her from an unmarked car or know that arrest warrants were already signed. The case against her was insurmountable. Financial records showed the embezzled HOA money used to pay known arsonists. Cell tower data placed her and her husband at the scene. The insurance fraud was brazen, massive, and meticulously documented. Elena Mendez oversaw the simultaneous dawn raids. The Thornes were taken from their $1 million home in handcuffs, broadcast on the morning news. Their assets were frozen, their company seized. 7 days later, Shannon McCullough, a.k.a. Vanessa Thorne, stood in my courtroom. She wore a standard-issue orange jumpsuit. The gallery was packed with federal agents, reporters, and the faces of families from Cypress Hills, Nashville, and Charlotte. A visiting judge, the Honorable Raymond Lee, presided. The reading of the charges took several minutes. Attempted murder of a federal official, arson, mail fraud, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, witness protection program fraud, RICO conspiracy, and multiple counts of civil rights violations. Her lawyer, a harried public defender, mumbled something about bail. The federal prosecutor, a cool woman named Amanda Pierce, simply listed the 5 aliases, the $4 million, the 18 displaced families. Then Vanessa spoke. She turned to me, her eyes blazing with a hate so pure it was almost fascinating. "Your Honor, this is a witch hunt. Judge Suarez has abused her power to fabricate a case against me because I stood up for our community's standards. This is what happens when the system turns on its own citizens." The courtroom was utterly silent. Judge Lee let the silence hang, then leaned forward. "Ms. McCullough, you are accused of plotting to murder a federal judge by incinerating her home. You are accused of systematically robbing your neighbors. You are accused of terrorizing the elderly and minority families in your care. The evidence before this court includes your own blueprints, your own financial records, your own pre-filed insurance claims, and footage of you bribing a fire inspector. You are not a citizen wronged by the system. You are a predator who tried to hide behind it. Bail is denied." As the marshals led her away, she spat her final words at me. "You can't prove I meant to kill you. It was just the house." I stood. The black robes felt heavier than ever. "Ms. McCullough," I said, my voice clear in the quiet room. "Thank you for that clarification. The court notes for the record the defendant's admission that the targeting of my home, the sanctuary of a federal judge, was intentional. The prosecution will find that most helpful at sentencing." The sound of the door closing behind her was the sound of a chapter ending. 2 years later, I drink my coffee in a rebuilt kitchen. Sunlight filters through new windows. Outside, finches dart around a new bird bath. Bingo snores at my feet, his leg fully healed. Shannon Vanessa McCullough is serving 3 consecutive life sentences in a federal prison in Colorado. Her husband is serving 25 years. The $4.2 million recovered from their assets was distributed to the families they harmed. Cypress Hills is different now. Gus Petrakis is the HOA president. Our new covenants have teeth. Financial transparency is mandatory. Fines over $50 require community vote, and discrimination based on ethnicity, age, or family status is ground for immediate removal from the board. Our story sparked the Cypress Hills Accountability Act in Florida, a law now being modeled in 11 other states. The Judge Lena Suarez Memorial Fund sends first-generation students to law school. This year's recipient is Lillian Gwynn. Our annual neighborhood picnic is a celebration, not a source of anxiety. Art Bellamy runs seminars on financial literacy. Elena Mendez gives pro bono legal clinics. The Jasmine came back, stronger than ever. The laughter of children playing in the street is the best revenge. My message is simple. If you're facing a petty tyrant with a rule book, don't stay silent. Document, organize, fight. Your story could be the one that changes everything. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've heard about a corrupt zoning commissioner in the next county over. The federal charges are going to be a thing of beauty.